Okay, go ahead. Maybe I
Welcome to another episode of Unsavory Fellow. My name is Dick James, and I'm here with my ungrateful guest,
Dick James.
Dick James, Peter Gaulke, writer, comedian. Here we go. He's very unhappy about his chair right now, but
Yeah.
he's at least the first one to be honest and say
But
they do suck.
They do. They suck.
I know. They look cool, though.
Well, they look pretty cool, but
I got them for $200 a piece, right?
They just need a little support. You know?
I don't know.
Like this, like the way I have it rigged
But
up
they
now.
look good.
Yeah, they look great. So, I just thought of this because I remember driving with my family to my aunt's house in Santa Monica,
Yeah.
back in like the late 60s or something, early 70s. And I heard a siren. It was like a weird siren. It was like a movie siren or something from like that Matthew, or the Broderick Crawford TV show, or remember that?
Highway Patrol.
Highway Patrol.
Yeah.
And so I come around the corner, and there's this guy comes by. He's got like an old Valiant, one of those old old Valiant, and there's a rack on top, and he's got a siren on it. He's driving down the street, and he goes by me. And then behind him are like 3 police cars chasing him. And there's this old guy. He's got the siren on, It's hilarious. But it'd be stuff like that all the time, like in the 70s. And it was such a weird era,
It was.
It
It was funny because
It was so fun. That was the most fun era.
you
I
could,
think.
Jim and I talk about it all the time. We do too. It's like Dylan grew up with phones, and everybody's got a camera.
Yeah.
And I just made an intro video, which I just showed you about this show. And the kid in the 70s, you could get away with anything. And I just made this video where there was. Do you remember the place Hot Tub Fever?
Yeah.
On Olympic
On
Boulevard.
Olympic,
And they had a hot tub in every room.
Yeah.
And me and my buddies would sneak down there, and we had box cutters, and you could cut a hole in the canvas that covered the windows. And you could peep in and watch people getting down and having sex in the hot tub. And I remember going, this is fucking awesome. Right?
I remember
It was such a disgusting...
the stuff you do, because you didn't have phone to look at
No.
to take up all your time.
You got to go find
You had to go
action.
find stuff to do. So you end up doing the most just debauchery, the weirdest stuff you would gravitate towards because there was nothing to do,
Oh, I even remember with that place, me and Ray, my buddy Ray Garcia, and a whole bunch of us came, and we had a system down because they were just canvas coverings covering the windows.
Yeah.
And there was 2 guys could go to a window, right? All the way, it was 1-level motel.
Yeah.
And when one guy would cut a hole, he would bend over and cut a hole through this canvas. The next guy would stand on your back, and he could cut a hole or look over the top.
Yeah.
And there was this an awning that hung over the window that you could hang on and see into. And I remember we would go every Friday night and cut holes and watch people screw in the
How old were you when you were doing that?
Probably like 14, because we'd go on mopeds, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And
Mopeds, yeah.
and we get in this one night, and we're looking and we're watching, and everybody's fighting for this one because it had the hot tub was closest to the window, so you could really see.
Yeah.
And there was a guy and a girl in there, like a man and a lady, and we're watching. And all of a sudden, the guy stands up and he starts peeing on the girl. I never even heard or seen anything like this.
This is sex education for you.
He's peeing all over her chest. And all of a sudden I go, oh my God. And they fucking turned, and she's looking, and she can see us, and she goes, there's somebody out there, right? And I fucking ran and left. My buddy was hanging, and he tore the whole awning down and ripped the whole thing. They were wide exposed, and we took off running. But that was fun and exciting times. In the 70s, you would never get caught with that.
No.
Because there's no cameras.
No, we would go when I was 13 years old, because that's when you start feeling like, well, what's going on?
Yeah,
We'd be all the way across the street in front of my friend's house in the dark, looking all the way across the street through the window of the house, a neighbor's house, at somebody we knew, some mother of kids we knew, we got a pair of binoculars, and we're trying to look.
Right.
We're trying to look under the dinner table where they're sitting. To see if we can see panties. Give me that. I think I see something.
Right. Yeah, you can Jim right now.
Yeah. No, that was fun. It was.
Which is funny because you and I always talk about, you said you'd talk about it on here, the time you almost killed a guy. Or that you did kill a guy.
But that was all out of like, that came from not having anything to do.
Right.
And then you end up killing a guy. Like.
Do you know that story, Jim?
Yeah.
Do you, Dill?
Yeah.
You know that story.
Yeah, so there's this, they had vacant lots all over LA, right? It was all vacant lots.
Yeah.
Those were like our playgrounds, And this vacant lot, it was by North Venice baseball
And how old were you?
I was probably 12, something like that, 12. And so all the kids, we had like about 10 kids back there. And it was in this nursery, behind this nursery. And it was like a city block, big, this whole vacant lot, a chain link fence around it. So we had exit tunnels under the fence, where we go. And we also, and there were these planter boxes that were about like this thick, and they all had they're wood, and they're heavy because they all had a little bit of mud or dirt in them, and they're stacked up 2 stories high, like literally, like almost 2 stories, house stories high, as big as like an apartment building. And we'd go in there and we'd spend all day working hard, to pull these things out and put tunnels through them. We had channels where we could run through and stuff and mess around.
Like a fort.
Yeah, we built a gigantic fort out of this giant mountain of planter boxes. And so we're out there one day and we're on top of it, this whole thing. And a guy was like coming out to like watch. Finally, somebody caught us back there.
Security?
He had a machete and he had he was drunk. And he had a piece of hose, and he's hitting the side of it, and everybody goes, everybody out, exit. And so everybody runs for the exit, all these kids.
Does he know you're in there now?
Oh, yeah, he saw us. That's
He's
why
trying to catch you.
He's trying to catch us, And so all the kids run out the exits under the fences and stuff. And this guy's down there going like, he's out there. He's saying to us kids, he's saying, I'm going to fucking kill you. I'm going to kill you, And he's hitting the side of this thing. He's got his machete. He's hitting this thing with a machete. And so my friend, who's like a little off, he goes, quick, come over here. And so he and I, while everybody's running,
he was older than you too.
He's older than me.
I remember
this guy was 2 years older than me. And so we start about 2 rows back of these things. We start using our feet and rocking this tower of heavy wooden boxes back and forth right over the guy. He's going, I'm going to kill you. And then we push, and the whole side of the structure falls down on top of this guy, and he just goes, and then we go, oh shit. My friend looks at me and goes, don't ever tell anybody about this. And then we run out, and then he was crazy. We run out of there, and I never said a word to anybody for years about this until one day I go, I think I killed a guy.
Well, I remember, who did you tell?
Oh, I can't remember when I told it, but it might have been like...
Because I remember when you and I were working on a reality show.
Yeah.
And we were trying to come up with ideas for a reality show, and it was something, we were coming up with crazier and crazier things, and you go, did I ever tell you about the time I killed a guy?
Yeah.
And we were like, this could be a show where you would go back.
Yeah.
Remember, the idea was...
And look
up who you harmed.
Yeah.
And you'd have to go to the person's family and go, hey, I killed your grandfather when I was a kid. I'm really sorry.
So I was writing a movie about this, about going back to find out if you killed a guy when you were a kid.
Oh, yeah.
And so,
That's a good movie.
Oh, it is.
You never told me that.
It's a pretty good idea, yeah.
I know we were going to do a reality show, right?
Yeah.
Where you just have to say you're sorry.
Yeah.
But then we said...
Sorry I killed your dad.
We said we couldn't do it. Because I remember you go, well, what if they catch me? I got to go to prison for murder.
It's one of those things where you go, I mean, it's beyond like statute of limitations, right?
I don't know.
Not for murder. No.
But you were a minor.
We weren't trying to kill anybody.
Plus you were a minor.
But I was thinking at the time, even though I was going, that would be a great show.
Yeah,
I wouldn't just want to sell a show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if anybody, I don't know if I'll do it. Because I don't want to go to jail.
But it's funny, Pete. When I was doing that promo video today, it never ceases to amaze me. And Jim and I talk about it all the time too. How many fucking movies, big movies, you and I have talked about it forever, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How many big movies? And I just said, and I always forget that you sold your first script for $1 million.
Yeah.
which was Say It Isn't So. What year do you remember when that was?
99.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Right? What did you feel like when that?
It felt good. Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean? You didn't have any money then.
No, I had started. Well, I never really thought about. Yeah, no, it was relief. I think relief. You go, oh, okay. Wow, I'm making money now.
A lot of money.
Yeah, but it didn't really connect. I saw it as a way because I was in debt by like $100,000 by then.
Why?
It was all just related to trying to. See, I was on the road doing stand up.
Want a coffee?
No, I don't want a coffee.
Go ahead.
I don't want that either.
You're doing stand up.
So I'm doing stand up, and so I shouldn't. No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to. No, I don't want that.
These are gyms. The sprinkles are gyms. You can't have those anymore.
Oh, okay. So I was doing stand up, and I was on the road, and so when I started headlining, I'd make more money. And so I didn't. Instead of going on the road making more money, I took time off.
Why?
Because I would only go out and work like 1 week a month because I was making enough to pay my rent. And that's all I ever cared about was just paying the rent.
Not working,
not trying to buy a house or anything like that. I was just going to I had to work on what I was going to do after stand-up. Once I got to a point where I realized this is as far as I'm probably going to go, with stand-up.
Then how'd you get into the...
Well, then I started writing we talked about this before, but I couldn't. I was like uneducated, like you probably. Okay, we were probably on the same track, going through school, really just sitting. You didn't. You actually got out and did some other stuff.
What did I do?
Riding around, getting in trouble.
Oh, you mean just leaving?
Yeah,
I got out.
Yeah. And I stayed.
I was done at 10th grade.
I stayed in school all the way through school, all the way through whatever, even college,
Right.
Just killing time, which is a shame. All that time totally wasted. So I came out of school totally uneducated. I couldn't write a sentence, And so so I was always had like imposter syndrome, even today.
Which is what?
Which is where you're afraid that they're going to find out that you're stupid or that you can't do this, you can't do anything. So I had that all throughout that whole time. Like when I sold this script, I still thought, oh shit, now I got to go talk to these people and they're going to know that I can't do this.
Right, that's weird, right?
Yeah.
Even though you sold it for $1 million with Heather Graham.
Still didn't have
You
confidence.
still don't think, that you're fucking a writer, right?
Yeah, because
you're not worthy of being there.
No, and I think I would have had that if I had learned something in school. But I didn't learn anything,
Why do you think that would have mattered?
Because I would have been able to have, like most people I know, even little kids are better writers than I am, And so, but they can't. It's very specific.
I mean, how did you then, because if that's the case, how did you become so successful as a writer?
I think it was more about, I read a lot of books when I was on the road doing stand-up.
Okay.
I went to the old used bookstores, which were all over the country. Every little town had used bookstores, and I would go and pick out classics, and I would start to read them. So I had to educate myself. And then I had to teach myself how to write. And then I had to teach myself how to write based on writing a little short video.
Right.
I'd type it all
shorts.
out. And then I started doing I'd type out a couple movies that I never finished, but I learned to type, the proper way to type, how to write a sentence, so I slowly educated myself to get me to the point where I could write a screenplay.
But you were writing your own jokes in the beginning as doing stand-up.
Yeah.
Because you were writing all those bits.
Yeah.
But let me go back then real quick. When did you find out that you were funny? And then how did you go, okay, fuck, I think I can go do stand-up?
Well, I was like, when I was a kid, I was trying to get attention for whatever reasons,
Right.
So I was trying to get attention. That's when you usually find out you're funny, is when people laugh at whatever you're doing, and then it just eggs you on. You just do more and more, and then you get into trouble for doing stuff that's you know, further than you should probably go on a joke, you know. And then it started to when I was a gymnast, I put together a like a comedy Florex routine, you know, tumbling routine, and I did that in big arenas, you know, so I would get big laughs. Yeah. And then I went to the Comedy Store, and I just, not to be a comedian, I went there to try out. I was going to do something on the Gong Show.
Oh yeah, I remember
and
the
so
Gong Show.
then I was going to do the Gong Show, so I went to the Comedy Store to try out what I did on the Gong Show, and I got my first time on stage. I mean, it's the only standing ovation I ever got, but I got a standing ovation my first time on stage. After that, I never got one again. But the
is that what starts it though? Was it that ovation where you go, "Fuck, I can do this"?
Yeah, I think I'm going to
keep going.
Well, I think it was doing that routine, that Florex routine, where I was putting together physical gags, you know, like, and it wasn't pratfalls. It was more odd things that I would do physically, and it was very subtle, but it would kill. You know, just these subtle little hand movements and changes, and I could see how you could do so little and get such big laughs. You know, and so when I first started doing stand-up, it was all purely physical. You know, I was jumping around doing all these pantomimes and things. You know, and it slowly, as I got better at writing and creating things, writing things, then I started to add more, things that were not typical observational, but just odd things that I would say.
How many scripts had you written, if any, did you write before Say It Isn't So?
I wrote probably 2 that I didn't finish. Okay. Because I didn't know how to write them. I didn't know how to structure them, but I was learning how to do it just on my own, you know, just learning how to structure a screenplay. And then I worked at Saturday Night Live for a year.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, worked there. And then while I was there...
So you're writing there?
Yeah.
You're learning, I mean...
Oh, yeah.
I mean, what a place to fucking learn, too.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was great, but those are sketches, you know, short sketches. But that wasn't... I was at the point where I could write a short sketch. I could get my thoughts, like I could get the idea I had of what I wanted to do on paper, you know, where people could read it and they'd see the same thing I saw, you know. So then translating that to a bigger thing, to write a screenplay, it's like you don't need to be really good at one thing. You got to be sort of kind of good at a lot of things.
Explain. Give more detail.
It's like, because you're writing dialogue, you got
dialogue,
structure,
description.
Just there's a lot of it's like a lot of problem solving.
Yeah, character building. Yeah, all that crap.
So it's all this stuff, and I've never been really good. I don't feel like I've been ever really good at anything. Like when I was a gymnast, I got a scholarship to UCLA, but I wasn't really great because I was always kind of lazy, and I'm still lazy.
I don't know. Because let me say something. Because you and I writing, when we would write together, I would be so frustrated because you would knock shit out in no time. And then you'd send it to me, go, yeah, dude, whatever. And I'd fucking labor, and I would get stuck on the smallest thing. I couldn't go on until I figured that out.
Yeah.
And then we'd go back, and I would work my ass off, and you'd go, oh, we need to rewrite this.
Yeah.
And then we would rewrite it, and you would do it in no time. And what I was always amazed with you is, like, it would take me 6 months to knock out a rough draft.
Yeah.
And you're banging them fucking out.
Well, that's
in no time.
That's my strength, is I don't overthink anything. And so
interesting.
Yeah, I just don't. I just put the blinders on.
See, I've never heard you say that. That's you just answered that.
No, I don't overthink it. And what I usually do, the reason I can write a first draft really fast, rough draft, is a lot of guys don't like to structure things, like to write a detailed outline. Okay. They go, I'm going to start writing, and I'm just going to go with the flow, and because then I can surprise myself. Well, yeah, okay. I don't think that works as well in a screenplay because it's so big, and I'm a structure person, you know. Yeah. So I have to know where I'm going. Yeah. Because once I know where I'm going and where I'm going to end up, then I can start playing, like within each scene. Right. Or I can really start playing because I know I've got this structure. Yeah. I know that I know that it's going to where it's going.
But you even figured that like that, you know, I think I'm a structured person too, but it takes me forever. And you're really good at figuring that out, what the ending is quickly, you know, all the way from the beginning to the middle and the end. You seem to get it down quick.
Well, I don't start anything. I don't even write anything if usually an idea for a screenplay or like Ice Age or anything like that, it comes to me like that. If it doesn't come to me like that, I'll never get it.
Does the ending have to come to you like that
usually,
as well?
Yeah, usually.
That's
usually
good.
There has to be some kind of an ending that pops into my head.
Yeah.
Because I have so many ideas where I have tons of stuff written for them, but I don't have an ending. And I've never been able to come up with a good, solid ending if I don't have it. Usually, if I don't have it when the idea first comes to me.
Yeah.
It usually all comes to me just done.
So what do you do? Let's say that you're, because I think it's fun that you're on here, and if somebody could watch and get something out of this.
I wouldn't recommend it though.
What's that?
Going into this business.
Well, wait a minute.
Writing screenplays.
I think differently about that. You always feel that way about it. I think it's fun. And you can't go into it, which I did forever. You and I know this. I would go into all these things with the results. What's the result going to be? If I do this, this is going to be the result.
Yeah.
And once I let go of the results and I go, I just fucking like writing. I like writing movies and sketches and whatever it is.
Yeah.
Because it's fun. Jim and I always talk about that all the time. That it'd be great if we could just make a few bucks to pay rent and do whatever we want. And if you're in the results of it, I think do not go into it.
No.
You can't.
No,
but if you like it.
Yeah, but that's always been my job.
It has. That's right.
So once I stopped doing stand-up, it wasn't like, a lot of people go, I'll give this 5 years.
Yeah.
No. I've never thought of it that way because it's all I can do.
Yeah.
I'm not going to like suddenly, somebody, my ex-wife's parents did a intervention on me once because they thought you need to get a real job. And I'm going like, they're from they're from Indiana, and he sells like floor cleaner, and he's going, you need to get a real job. I don't understand this, You should go back and get your teaching credential. I'm like 50, so I'm like, what are you talking about? And because, but this has always been sort of like this is all I can do,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna I wrote books. I wrote that there's 5 in the last 6 years. I wrote 5 books.
Look at these.
A couple with different people. One with Jerry Swallow. 2 with Jerry Swallow, my friend Max Fernsby, which was published by HarperCollins. And then these other 4 are just
Max Fernsby.
Yeah,
this is great.
And the other ones are just
Time Force. I don't know about.
Yeah, that's a kid's book.
Now these I know.
And yeah, Unseen America.
Unseen America.
Volume 1.
And 2, these are hilarious.
Yeah, those are fun. But now these are
and this one too. This is the latest.
Yeah, the Trump book,
which I read every morning on the throne.
The alternative.
Where I hurt my back yesterday.
What is it? Oh, it's President Trump's alternative facts.
That's in my bathroom.
Oh yeah, it's good.
It is.
Yeah, it's great.
Great morning reading.
It's the best. It's a great bathroom book.
It is.
And it's but yeah, now those, because the book screenwriting, basically I always go back to it.
To the screenwriting.
If I'm working on anything else or think I have a chance of selling anything else, I always immediately go back to screenwriting because that's the best shot I have at making a living.
Which is true, because I'll tell you something. When we made
Buscemi?
We Got to Get Buscemi.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. We went to the gates of insanity to try and finish that movie. And it cost us our marriages, money, property, right?
Yeah.
The whole thing. We were all involved in it. Jim, right? Me, you, and
we
everything.
lost our minds.
We lost our minds. We did. And I'll tell you something. I remember I was in my backyard. I remember walked out in my backyard and I was crying. Right?
Oh, you mean that's the only time you were crying?
No, but I mean, I was like fucking defeated, because that's the day everybody came, like the actors and the crew.
Oh, God.
Danny Trejo and everybody. And we had to tell them, There's no movie.
There's no money.
There's no money. We don't have any money. We know we owe you money. And it was fucking over. And I remember I walked in the backyard and I felt like such a loser. I just put my head down. I started sobbing in the backyard, right? And I remember going, I got to go. You and I talked. And I go, I got to go get some kind of a job. And I go, what are you going to do? And you said, I got to write something.
Yeah.
I got to sell something.
Yeah.
And that was your answer.
That
Mine was
it.
I got to go get a job painting houses or doing whatever. You were like, that's always been your go-to. I got to sell something.
I got to sell something. And it was like that whenever I would, well, in the past, like when I first sold Say It Isn't So.
Yeah.
And then after that, I was able to, you could go in and you wouldn't write a spec. Mm-hmm. You could, that's what I should have done was writing specs. But instead, I could go in and it was so easy for me as a performer. I'd go in and I would pitch a movie idea to a production company or
like
someone.
Ice Age. Did you do that with Ice Age?
Pitched Ice Age to just hanging out in a. I was working on another animated movie with the head of Fox Animation at the time, and he said, "Oh, hey, we're looking for an idea for Ice Age 2, if you have any." And so I go, "Oh, okay." Then at the end of that meeting, I go, "Hey, how about this?" And I pitched this Ice Age 2. And then I went away, and then he said about a month later or so, my agent called and said, "Hey, this guy wants to know if you'd come in and pitch, if you and Jerry would come in and pitch an idea for Ice Age 2." And I go, "Okay." So I went in. Jerry and I put together an idea for a pitch. Went in and pitched that idea, and he goes, "Well, that's good. That's a good idea. But what about the one you pitched before?" And I go, "What was that?" And he reminded me, "Oh, right." He goes, yeah. Can you put together more of that?" And I go, "Yeah, okay." So Jerry and I then put together more for that idea
For Ice Age 2.
For Ice Age 2,
right?
And we took that in, and that was it.
And sold it.
But I was really good at pitching.
Yeah.
Like I could go in and pitch out a whole story. I'd get up, stand up, and act it out. And I was really good at pitching story ideas for movies.
Remember when I was thinking too? Remember when we were doing all this? I sucked you into reality TV world.
Oh
right?
man!
And so I was doing this like low budget porn stuff called Bachelor Party Blowout, right? And where it was like we were filming bachelor parties. And it was just, I was just trying to make money in between. I was trying to do anything and make money with a camera.
But I would go, so you told me about it, and I go, and you showed me the video.
Yeah, you go, "Let's go."
I go, "Wow, that looks great." Like, what am I thinking?
Agent. And we went to, and your agent set it up where we went and pitched to Mark Burnett's agent.
Yeah.
And then she brought in your TV agent.
Yeah.
And this was at CAA.
Yeah.
And we go in
the office. We put the video in.
And then he goes, "What do you got?" We pitched. We had this video that was like porn.
Yeah.
And we pitched it to him. He puts it in, and he sees this porn pop up with fart sounds. We added.
Oh my God, it was horrible.
And then he fucking instantly ejects it, and he throws it at me.
Throws it at us.
He goes, "We're not interested in this lowbrow crap around here." And we look over, and all of a sudden it just hit me. And then your agent, the female agent, was sitting there, and we were like, "Oh, fuck, this was terrible."
Was horrible.
But then then at the last minute, the go-to was The Last Tycoon.
Yeah, The Last
Everyone loved The Last Tycoon.
Yeah.
And then he was going to throw us out. And I go, "Hey, wait a minute. We have this one more idea." And he goes, "What is it?" And we pitched him, and it was like this version.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. He goes, "Hey, but..."
It's still an interesting idea, but it's one of those things that nobody...
I think it's played out. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's like, I think the world has moved beyond
the whole
that.
Survivor thing, and all that.
Yeah.
Oh, so at one point I went and those books, I decided when the economy crashed,
Yeah.
and when the Writers Guild strike happened and all these jobs I had fell apart, is I go, I'm gonna have to write like. I realized I sold a script after the economy crashed. I sold a script,
Which was what?
It was Baby Makers.
Baby Makers. See?
And so I sold that, and they're making that, but the amount that I made off of that was like a third of what I had made before the economy crashed. And I realized that the whole business changed.
And it's still it's like that, right?
Like, well, they don't develop anything anymore. They don't develop anything. You have to come in with a finished, good, really great screenplay with people attached all over.
Like you're producing, like the old days when we would run around with a script and people that would have signed letters of intent.
So it's so hard. Like it's one thing just to have an agent take a script out and then sell it to somebody, you know. But that is over. Now it's more. It's like, okay, you got to get. Okay, well, it takes forever because, and that's with a good script to try to shop it around town and get an actor attached, a director, you know, to get people attached to it. It just takes forever. And then then you take that whole package out. It's like, and then the amount that you make for a screenplay after going through all that, you know?
Yeah.
And then there are no DVDs. So there really nothing in the way of residuals anymore.
Do you remember, like, even like, for example, when we were We Got to Get Buscemi was the movie we made off of the backs of, what was the one we were making?
Dead Guy.
The Dead Guy, right?
Yeah.
So we went out and we had all these people. We started off with Danny Trejo getting a letter of intent, Brian Van Holt, Wee Man, and we had this whole idea, this is how you did it back then, that Danny would bring in an actor, and then and then you'd come in, like you said, with a full package.
Yeah.
You know, and this polished script and go, here, it's ready for you.
Yeah.
You know, but it seems now, though, like what I always say is now it's almost like you have to make it yourself. You know what I mean? You write it because, like you said, the money's not the same, right? You're not going to get $1 million for a script now, right?
No,
right? Those days are over.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
The bidding war days are gone.
And that's the thing that I thought back then was I got to sell 3 things instead of 1.
Right.
And then I thought that, and I go, okay, I started writing like crazy. And I wrote like in the last 7 years or so, I've written probably that's how depressing
How many
it is.
have you written in the last 7 years, you think, scripts?
I've probably written about 10, but
That's a lot.
I have about like 6 or 7 things, you know, not all comedy related.
Yeah.
6, 7, 8 things that are the best things I've ever written. But it's because now when we got rid of agents, you know, I don't have an agent, I don't have a manager, and I'm old. And so it's like
how do you get it out there then? How do you get your?
It's really hard. I don't have like people I knew who were agents or producers, you know, they're either long gone or because, you know, basically during the pandemic and before that, I had to take time out, you know, with my kid, who has special needs and stuff. So there's this gap of time where I didn't really take anything out.
Yeah.
And so or there are people who I haven't talked to in years, and I don't feel comfortable calling people, which most people do and which I should do, calling people that I haven't seen in years to say, hey, I got this thing. You want to see it, you know? So,
well, you know what's funny though, too? It's like you can't, it's almost like if you write something, if I write something, it's funny how my brain works now. I don't even think about giving it to somebody like they're going to make it because it's so not that way in Hollywood anymore, right?
Yeah.
You're not going to have an agent who's going to hustle your script. I mean, like I remember, like when I first met you, when I wrote Winnebago. Boy, you have a good script. It's getting out there, and people are passing it around. You get people attached, and you actually feel like they're doing most of the work at this point. They're gonna, you know, you've written the script, and you could even read about yourself. I remember being on the cover of Variety that I had a movie with Danny Trejo and Selma Hayek. Never happened.
Yeah,
never happened. But even now, the odds of that happening are. So you almost look at like if you're gonna write something. Like we always talk about, you can make it. You might as well go make it yourself.
Well, back in before 2008, there were probably once a week. It seems like once a week there was a new comedy, some kind of comedy coming out in theaters.
Yes,
and with actors, comedy actors and stuff who you didn't really know. It's just that they were spending money to make these things too, like a lot of money, you know, like $20-30 million to make these movies with people who weren't big stars.
Yeah.
and then that's all gone. So now it's
Where is it gone?
It's streaming, but it's not really like I don't see a lot of really the kind of comedies that they used to come out with.
Do you think it's because of the pendulum swing of the woke?
No, I think part of it is just that because we don't have. I think comedy movie stars like Jim Carrey and James Carrey.
Yeah,
he goes by James.
Jim Berniger.
Yeah, James Berniger. Yeah. Is that those stars are made by theatrical release comedies? I think, and because they don't have big theatrical releases for comedies, it's harder for an actor to break like a Will Ferrell in a movie, Whereas you'd have all these comic actors who would suddenly be on a big screen, is they're movie stars,
Yeah.
And you don't have that anymore, so there aren't really any.
Why do you think that
there doesn't seem to be any big comedy. There are a few, but
why
there
do you
aren't
think
that many.
that? Why is that? Why do you think that is?
I don't know.
And do you think it could come back?
Oh, it'll come back.
You think so?
Comedy movies will.
You think that'll come back?
I think comedy. Yeah, it'll come back. There'll be more comedy movies, but I don't think they'll be in movie theaters.
No, I don't either.
And that's why I don't see comedy as being really big and being able to make a lot of money doing them. Writing them. I'm just from a writer's perspective.
What about a series? Like,
yeah, I mean that's where you go.
The Studio did really well. Is that?
Yeah.
You saw that? Have you seen that?
Yeah.
I mean, that was like the first comedy series I've seen in a while.
Yeah.
That did really well.
I know nobody wants books anymore. Does anybody read books?
I read books, but I read books, to be honest, when I go on vacation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the things I like to read are things that are adventures, things where I'm at. So if we go to Hawaii, I like to read about lost cities.
You're talking about writing for fun, right?
Yeah.
I wrote books because I thought, okay, you want that content.
Right.
And then you own it.
Yes.
And then you can write a screenplay like Max Fernsby and the Infinite Toys.
Yeah.
Right. It's a kid's Christmas novel, and it's great.
Right.
It's great. But HarperCollins, they never, because you're not a celebrity or you're not a well-known book writer, they don't put any promotion in it. So nobody knows anything about it.
I'm going to redo that. Just go again. This.
Yeah, and lower your mics too high.
Okay. The thing about this, the truth of the matter is, I don't think we even want to mention HarperCollins. You know why?
Oh yeah.
Because this is a great book.
Oh yeah.
This is a great book.
Yeah.
And where can you get this?
Amazon.
You get this at Amazon.
Yeah, Amazon or
I remember
Barnes and Noble.
Yeah, I remember when you were writing this. This is amazing.
Oh, it's great. It's a great book.
Yeah.
And it's a great story, and it's the beginning of like a series. But nobody knows it exists, And even though it was published by somebody, nobody knows it exists. But and then the other books, like those books, are all self-published because no one's going to publish these books, And so.
Yeah, but what's funny about these books?
They might, but to try to do that, it takes so much luck and so hard.
You didn't write these books.
No, I
to make $1 million.
No, I did write them to try to sell. What I realized is that nobody's going to buy books no one's going to buy books from me unless I was out promoting them somehow and could get. And
so we're doing
this show. Nobody watches this.
Oh yeah, they do. Let me tell you something though. But the truth of the matter is, you had fun doing this.
Well, that's the thing is what I realized.
That's what we were talking about.
When I show people these books, I go, "This is my hobby."
Yeah,
because that's all it can be. And if you're going to get frustrated about writing something that like I don't write those for money. So if I have to make money, then I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
But
I mean, my point is that if you're gonna write, if you're gonna do anything creative at all, you're not gonna have fun or enjoy. If you're in it for the results of how much I'm gonna get, you might as well forget it.
Yeah.
Because what's the point? There's so many other things you can do and have a great time.
Yeah.
Well,
I write
with your life.
If the only reason I'm writing I'd say writing a screenplay, I have to write it. Like I have the idea. No, it's just basically.
Oh yeah.
like I don't think about who's going to buy it or anything.
Right. Yeah,
like
I got to get this down.
Yeah. Like I wrote this.
That's great.
I wrote a comedy just recently, that's like, I love it. It's great. It's, I won't even say what it is, but you're not thinking about it. You're so into the joy and the fun of writing this thing that is just like, oh, this is great. But you don't know it until you write the rough draft.
Yeah.
Then suddenly you go, oh, this is pretty funny,
Yeah.
And then you give it to Jim, and then Jim reads it, and then you get his reaction to it. Everything has to go through Jim.
I think you're right.
He is. He's like sits in a corner in his beanbag chair, and he just reads everything, and he likes everything.
Which is great because I send Jim stuff at 11 at night.
Well, Jim's up until 4 a.m.
But the fun thing is, though, I think to go back to what we were talking about, which is what I was saying about a series, whether you're going to write a movie or a series or a book like this, you did this yourself. Yeah. You had fun doing it. So you, in a way, you're not. This is what's I think can be exciting.
Yeah.
About the time we live in now, is you can take control of your own destiny in a way.
Yeah, yeah.
And like we made this podcast, I always say. We just said, fuck it. Let's go get some cameras.
Yeah.
Let's build this set and create what we want. We don't, because we were renting a studio.
Yeah.
You remember? Mm-hmm. And we were like, no, let's not do that. Let's do it ourselves. And the same thing, if you write something, you can self-publish. If you write a movie, you might as well go out and shoot it, in my opinion. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because the odds of you trying to... I remember when we were out hustling, trying to get money. We went to fucking... What's his name from the Lakers when we had what was the dead guy?
Oh, yeah.
Rick Fox.
Rick Fox, yeah.
Of the Lakers. We went to Rick Fox for money to finance our movie, right? Basketball player at the Lakers. And he was going to give... And I got to tell the story. He was going to give us the money. He was going to give us $1 million, right? We're sitting at lunch. He says, well, we want to come in and we can put up $1 million. And Pete goes, yeah, but I don't think we don't need your money. And under the table, I'm like, no, Pete, no.
Nah, I don't think we need that much money.
Because
we can do this for a lot less.
Because we were at the time, I know you were thinking of like, he's going to own most of the movie.
Yeah, yeah.
And you didn't want that. So instead, we don't have a movie.
Hey, that movie, Buscemi, though. Oh, and I got to say about those books.
Yeah.
The Trump book and the 2 Unseen America books, like, I could never have done those on my own. Like, I could write the material, write all the material. But when it comes to putting the stuff together, that's Jim. That's Jim.
It's always Jim.
Jim's good at it.
Jim's amazing at that. That's what the fun part is.
Yeah, it is. It's great. And the thing is, he loves that as much as I love writing the stuff.
Oh yeah.
But Buscemi though, that's one of those, like, in a way, it's almost like everything that you do, like if you're going to get into acting or screenwriting or writing anything,
that's our movie, just so everybody knows. I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah, we got to get Buscemi. But if you're gonna, chances are, it's not going to work out. Very little works out, and it always ends up in like desperation and sadness.
Like our movie.
Which
is so funny.
Yeah.
Because what's funny is I always thought, like, if I hooked up with you.
Yeah.
So when we met, I don't know, 20-something years ago, and we started working on something, I said, you know what? For the first time in my life, I'm not going to do it my way. I'm going to do what you say. And if I follow along with Pete, who sold a script for $1 million, I can't fucking fail. There's no way I can fail.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then I remember when we Got to Get Buscemi, and we both realized, because you're talking about the problem we always say that we both had you said it, is we're optimists to a fault.
Oh yeah, we're destructive optimists.
Yeah, and the two of us together, it's fucking bad
I found
news.
my entertainment soulmate in destruction when we met.
Right.
It's like, wow, he thinks just like me. Right. We could be in misery together. Right. Is no respect for money.
Yeah.
Just none.
We just want to make it and have fun and laugh.
We spend all our money. Here, take it. You know? And that's where that, before I sold. But the thing is, when I sold Say It Isn't So, it was a lot of money, but there was a lot of writing to be done between that. And I had to split it with Jerry Swallow, the co-writer. So instead of just paying off my debt and taking it easy, I held on to the debt because I ended up going to Hawaii and buying property in Hawaii.
That's right.
Because I had a dream of a compound.
And remember, we would go there.
It's like the Mosquito Coast.
Let's go to. We'd go to your property.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Nothing would get done.
We just go surfing. Yeah. So, but we got to get Buscemi. It's one of those things where, like people who, like my sister-in-law Jennifer, who was a set decorator for all of John Hughes movies.
Oh yeah.
She saw that and she said, "Oh my God, this should be everyone who's involved in movies, who wants to be in the entertainment industry needs to see this movie."
It's true.
And then I showed it to a film school instructor who then showed it to his class.
Yeah.
And he goes, "This has to be in every film school." But we couldn't do it.
No.
We weren't able to do that. We weren't able to take it that next step, Well,
it's funny too. I remember we were in I forget what film festival, and it screened at the Laemmle in Hollywood, the Sunset 5 or whatever it's called.
Yeah. It's like 200 people in that theater.
Yeah. And we went in there, and it was the first screening, packed house, and we're watching it, and all of a sudden, I remember the devastation as I watched the movie, and I realized
how humiliating.
We made a movie about what fucking idiots we are. It was on this giant screen, and everybody's laughing.
Look at these idiots.
These big belly rolls. And I remember I was just like this, a little tear just came out.
See that? I have it's like the original Strange Wilderness.
Yeah.
It's that's one of my favorite things I ever did. We Got to Get Buscemi. That was one of the, I would say that, the original Strange Wilderness. Those two, as far as movies go, and those are two things that no one's ever seen,
right?
And I'm
going to tell you something.
They were the best things.
Can I say this and be honest? The original Strange Wilderness is 10 times better than the big theatrical one.
I agree.
I mean, seriously,
it makes more sense.
If you can see that, is there any way nobody can see that? Huh?
No.
That's that to me, because I remember the original, right? And then when I remember you were making the original one, and I saw it. Not that I didn't like it. I go, yeah, it was great, right?
Yeah, the new one, yeah.
But it was all slick. And to me, I like the indie, grimy, grit
well, here's the one thing
the way you guys made that.
The one thing that was done differently. And also it had guys like, I was the lead,
you
lead
and Fred,
actor.
Jim's in it.
Yeah. And so,
right.
but the thing is, what was the big difference to me in those two was everyone over at Happy Madison everybody wanted to make the Strange Wilderness crew, which it was basically kind of like The Office TV show, before The Office,
right?
Like it was a single camera, film students shooting a show, documenting this Strange Wilderness company as they're shooting, and then they follow them on this hunt for Bigfoot,
right.
But it's all basically that's what it is. It's like The Office before The Office.
Yeah.
So so what they wanted to do, and these guys were, which after we did this movie, Bottle Rocket came out too, and that was more of the way that I wanted to do the movie, is where these people were real people. But what the change they wanted to make when it went to Happy Madison was, we're going to make all these guys, we have to explain why they're so odd. So we're going to make them all stoners. And then it just became like, okay, now they're all stoners.
Yeah.
And it's just, it changed the whole dynamic.
And I'm going to tell you something, which is true. When I think back of our meeting with Rick Fox, and you telling Rick Fox, we don't want your $1 million.
Yeah.
That we can do it for 300,000. But I get it, because the truth of the matter is, from my experience as a filmmaker or doing sketches or working with you and Jim, is when you don't have the money.
We could have done it for $10,000.
We could have. And when you don't have the money, though, from my experience, being at this a long time, is that you become more creative.
Yeah.
Real comedy happens. Real shots happen. The looks that you don't get. When you have all this time and money and there's sort of a slick feel to it, I don't know.
Yeah.
Strange Wilderness, We Got to Get Buscemi. Anything you got to do on your own, you're forced to become creative. You're forced to think outside the box. And to me, that's where the magic happens.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because you can have the best actors, the best director, the best script. We've seen it a million times on Netflix. You go, this is going to be a great movie. And it doesn't matter. You don't know what the audience is going to like. And you can show up to see this movie and it can suck with the best director, the best actors, and the best script. It could still blow.
Yeah.
So you don't have any control of that. So it really, to me, is like, it goes back to what I was saying, is like, you should have fun. You got to have fun doing this stuff. And if you're going to be into the results, you're probably going to lose, in my opinion, from my experience.
Yeah. No, I think I think a budget to a certain point is it starts to become, I think like, big budget comedies, it's rare that they really ever work,
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Jim?
What do you think?
1941.
I know I was going to say that. Yeah.
Wow, there you have it.
Yeah. So anyway, okay. So that's it.
How much time do we have?
Let's go. What I was going to say too is that I think one thing that I learned is that I didn't do, and I just realized this not long ago, right? But now I'm old, and so it doesn't matter. But it just doesn't matter anymore. No, I don't want them. is that there, because someone just, my girlfriend's daughter is a ceramicist, and my girlfriend's an artist, and so her daughter is a great like fine art ceramicist doing like really cool stuff, and but she wants to go and probably get more into the business world, do something, but then people now see her stuff and they want to commission her, to do stuff. But it's like, I can't, because I have to do this, But it's the idea of when doors, I've had so many doors open for me. And then because I was so set on what I wanted to do, what I thought I should do, I never went through that door.
Yes.
And you're probably the same way too.
I was.
Is I had like, okay, hey, you should, Pete, you should do Strange, like when we did these Strange Wilderness shorts, is one of the big producers producing all these TV shows in town, I had lunch with him, with John Burritt, and he was saying he wanted to do a series with me as the lead in the series of Strange Wilderness.
Yeah.
Which would be like The Office.
I remember that.
Yeah. And I said, I don't think so. I want to do a movie. Yeah. Because I think movies are the way to go.
It's true.
So obviously I made a huge mistake. That was the way to go. And it's just when these things are presented to you, it's almost as if somebody's winking at you and going like, hey, do this.
Yeah, I like that.
Someone's
winking at you.
I was on a plane after Say It and So Sold. I was flying back east to work on a Farrelly Brothers movie, and one of the heads of Fox, I was riding with him. He goes, "Hey Pete, you should write a movie that you can direct." And I go, "Nah, because I'm writing this." It's like, what are you, an idiot?
Yeah.
So it's like one door after another opens. Never walk through that door.
Yeah.
And that's something that you have to look out for. You got to be good at what you do, but also when those doors open, you have to just not overthink it.
Well, it's funny. You and I always talk about how many like you're saying, how many opportunities.
Yeah.
We've blown. Me as an actor, whatever. And you don't realize it at the time. And when you get old, or our age and stuff like that, I look back and I go, I should have just said yes to everything.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's funny now that in my 60s, I'm working more than I ever have, only because I'm just saying yes. Yeah, okay, let's do it. Yeah. I don't care what it is. I'll do it.
I'm saying yes too. The problem is I'm the only one in the room. Yeah.
But isn't it true though?
Yeah.
Why not? You know, because I remember Greg Cush, who died, who was in our We Got to Give a Shimmy. Greg Cush, when you and I were trying to raise money for the dead guy, Greg Cush was trying to get us money, and I remember him yelling at me, you know, calling me stupid. He goes, "You and Pete have fucking nothing." He goes, "You haven't." He goes, "You don't understand that." He goes, "You have 100% of nothing. Do you understand that?" And we go, "Well, you know, we wanted to keep all the rights to it of something we didn't even have." You know.
I know.
And we never got the money that, you know, from him.
No. We're not that smart.
What would you say then? Like, let's say, what would you say in a nutshell? What do you wish that you would have, looking back, like what would you have done differently besides, you know, or elaborate on the whole yes thing? And so that we can give somebody else some sort of a path to go down that they can say yes to.
I would say to everybody out there who's thinking about being in the industry is I would say, fuck you. Figure it out on your own. I'm not giving you anything because nobody cares about me.
What do you think, though? What would it be?
That's it.
Okay, fuck it. Yeah, work for it like everyone else.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to tell. Nobody's interested in what I have to say.
No, I think they are.
They aren't. Younger people have they just could care less.
I don't know, man. Okay, then what about, so I think we've covered it anyway, because if you're going to write, I think that the key is write because you want something you want to write. Because like you said, something I have to do.
Yeah.
Right?
Wait until it's done.
And then I would say yes.
Yeah.
If there's an opportunity in front of who gives a shit, say yes.
I have so many friends who have written like one thing and then they push that one thing for 20 years.
And what happens?
Nothing ever happens with it. But they have that thing.
Yeah.
Hey, can you get this?
Oh yeah.
And you go, it's that same thing.
Oh yeah.
Like I stopped reading scripts and giving notes because I have to give good notes.
Yeah, yeah.
Like if somebody gives me something, I go, God, this is horrible. But I'm trying to give some kind of positive and so it'll take me 3 hours, you know, of just making notes and all this. I give it back to them every single time. They don't take one note, not one note where they go because they'll send me a copy. They'll say, hey, can you take a look at that script? You read it like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But I rewrote it, you know, after I got your notes. They'll send me the script. It's the same exact script.
Yeah.
And I can't tell you how many times that's happened, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas in the meantime, they've written like that one. I've written 20 or so, you know, or 25, you know, because you get, things become too precious, you know?
Yeah, exactly. See, that's the thing. I did learn this from you. I learned from you about cutting shit and getting rid of shit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I to me, that's as a writer, that's a freeing experience, I think, to get to the place where you go, fuck it, I don't need that.
Yeah.
Because if it's fast and it's going, if you're stuck and you even have to think about it to me or fudge it and rework the scene, I go, fuck it. You don't need it probably.
Yeah.
Get rid of it. So
get rid of it. So that's Nick's advice. Get rid of it.
Get rid of it. I agree that in editing too, I think the same way when you're editing.
That should be on your t-shirt.
Get rid of it.
Get rid of it. No,
cut it.
That's not that good.
Anyway, how much time do we have? I think we're done.
Is that it? There's nothing else you want to ask me?
Yeah, you know what I want to ask you? Tell me exactly where people can get these books.
Just go.
That's what I want to know.
Just go to Amazon and type in Peter Gaulke. Or go to petergaulke.com, and that'll take you to these books too. But yeah, these three really, those.
And this one's a great book.
That's a great book. Yeah. I mean, if you got kids, this
is going to be a movie.
It'll be a movie one day, I think.
I'm for sure of that.
Yeah. But these three books, Unseen America, Volume 1, Volume 2, and the Alternative Facts of Nature, that's not like an anti-Trump book either.
No,
for those of you
it's a joke book.
It's a joke book. Yeah, it's a joke book.
Yeah, it's fun.
But it's funny. It's all in his voice.
We're going to have a good time.
And actually, you can go to Pete's Brain on Instagram.
Pete's Brain on Instagram.
Instagram or TikTok.
Follow, subscribe.
And you can watch the Trump videos that Jim and I put together.
That's right.
And they're great. They're great.
Yeah.
They've got some added stuff that's added to that, to that whole thing.
They're positive.
Yeah, those are fun.
All right.
Yeah.
Another savory conversation with one of my best buddies, Peter Gaulke.
Aloha.